Hello and welcome back to Syrasi Plays Pokemon Crystal NuzLocke. Where we last left off, we had explored Goldenrod City and we were grinding the fuck out of our team, hoping to get them up to snuff for the third gym. Today we are again joined by our co-host, River.
Hello.
And today we're going to have to continue grinding our team because they're still not ready. So we're going to do that. So how have you been, River?
I've been alright.
Yeah? What kind of PokeTopics do we want to discuss today to keep our loyal viewers entertained?
So, in the light of some military experiment with Pokemon, who decided that the best idea to deal with this oncoming threat is catching them?
Oncoming threat? I don't understand what you mean.
So, the military project of Pokemon is released. Who decides that we're going to make these little balls and turn them into data?
Oh... I don't know. Who does decide that? Giovanni? No, he emerged after all that, I think. Probably the military. It's an efficient way of transporting a large army, actually. Oh, I like this idea. Yeah, you have a large army in small, compact form. You could airdrop a ton of Pokemon into one fight from a very small transportation point. Yeah, that actually makes a ton of sense. That's probably the origin of why Pokeballs happen. And then each person has 6. But why is the limit 6 Pokemon per person? That's something I'm interested.
Yeah, that is a really strange number.
Is it just arbitrary so that they don't have to have too many things memorized at once?
I'm thinking it was probably the limits of what the code could do and what was easily used for that. But in the Pokemon sense, trying to think if there's a good reason, and it's hard to come up with one.
We know it's not physically impossible to carry more than 6 Pokeballs with you that have Pokemon in them. Because we've seen Team Rocket and other groups have gigantic numbers of Pokeballs, and they just throw them at the enemy and just release a ton of Pokemon. We've seen it happen, like with the Tauros too. All of Ash's Tauros get released one time because he caught like hundreds of them. So that happens. We know it does.
I bet it's like league rules.
And where did those league rules originate? Probably from the military standard issue. Each grunt trainer would be issued 6 Pokemon, or each soldier. That's what I think. But why? Most trainers, almost none of the trainers we encounter have 6 Pokemon. That's the thing. What I think happens is that they're not using all their Pokemon in the fight. Because we don't see them black out like we do.
That's true.
Oh yeah, what about blacking out? This is a good transition in topic. So they're probably not using all their Pokemon because for some reason, when all of your Pokemon are taken out, you are knocked out. Why does that happen? Could it be because the wild Pokemon come in and attack you until you faint?
I don't think you faint. I think that the Fire Red version shows a better thing of what happens, where it's that you scuttle to the Pokemon Center to prevent your Pokemon from getting in more harm. And that it's not that you black out and you end up somewhere, but rather you realize all your Pokemon, you need to make sure that none of them are sent out being fainted and then being attacked. So you need to immediately go to the Pokemon Center.
Interesting. Because like it always says like your Pokemon fainted when it's defeated in battle. Which is pretty brutal because it takes a lot of beating to make someone lose consciousness. Yeah, that's right, Ditto. You do that. But it says in Red and Blue it's you black out. In Gold and Silver it's white out.
Yep.
Which still implies some sort of losing consciousness. But it's not. It's clearly a different translation.
It is.
And I want to know what the original Japanese says.
I'm not sure.
Is there anything in the Pokedex about what the Japanese version of Blackout was? Because if it changes between different games, or if they're using the same phrase and just badly translating each time, which I wouldn't doubt, given the history of video game translations.
Let's see.
What does it say in Japanese?
So,
Lose hope. Whoa! Okay, so according to the Pokedex, what's the Japanese version?
It's that you will lose hope or plunge into darkness.
Okay, this raises a ton more questions.
Mm-hmm.
What does it say?
And then one's plunge into white, but there is no difference in blacking out. It doesn't make a, like, really great explanation of why this is so. But it would make sense that you just, like, you are more worried at that point about your Pokemon than you are anything else. But the whiting out is what I think is more interesting. I don't, like, I think that might actually have something to do with you as the trainer in that instance.
Yeah. Like, your Pokemon might die if you don't get back.
Like,
clearly there's the danger your Pokemon will die in a NuzLocke, but...
I mean, like, everyone, you're familiar with the Raticate.
Yes, the theory.
That
doesn't actually work. Because it's a different Raticate each time, because it's evolved at the wrong time.
Mm-hmm. But it does seem interesting that there are different things where Pokemon are clearly shown able to die, but we are never shown how they die.
It's a kid's game and show.
It is a kid's game, but I think it is interesting that they just utterly drop the question of how death happens.
Well, we know at least one way Pokemon can die. Charmander's fire goes out.
Yep.
That was a dark episode.
And then you have Spoink, that if it's not constantly bouncing to keep its heart pumping, then it dies.
Oh, Christ. Oh, Christ. That's
I'm just wondering, how was that useful for the military project? He's like,
well, I think some of them were aborted mistakes, you know? And they just escaped. Because clearly, like, at some point it got out of control. They had, like, the core Pokemon. Those are probably the most common ones. And the rarer ones were either the ones they were trying to make the super weapons or the failed experiments along the way. And those failed experiments probably got out of the lab or something. That explains why they're always constantly... And Pokemon, since they can transform their form suddenly, it's also not infeasible that new types of Pokemon could arise spontaneously from others. Since they have unstable DNA or whatever it might be.
Do you think the unstable DNA accounts for, like, fairy types happening, or do you think that is an entirely different world? Like, an entirely different universe?
It's the same universe, because Ash goes there.
True.
I think it's just that they realized that things were working in a different way than they were before. Like, they were always fairy types, it's just they didn't notice that those attacks were super effective.
But then wouldn't it show that damage? Like, it should show that damage.
It should show that damage, but they also should learn those moves that they don't learn.
Maybe the more
Zubat
moves is constant evolving of how the Pokemon work individually.
Oh, true, yeah. Time does change between each of the regions.
And that constant evolving might also account for why fairy types happen. And steel types and dark types.
That's true. But yeah. It's survival of the fittest, natural selection. So since dragons were always so naturally superior to all the others, fairy type evolved to counter it. That conveniently fits into the game balance concerns.
And Pokemon like Spiritomb and Sableye didn't have really any counters, so it evolved as a way to work on that as well.
Neat. Okay, I think we've solved that mystery. We're gonna become like the Pokeconspiracy channel at this point. Let's see, another wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
So, we have some people who are talking about being a Pokemon professor. What do you think qualifies them to be a Pokemon professor?
They graduated from Pokemon University.
It's just like...
they're researchers, really.
It's like, then what's the difference between a researcher and a Pokemon professor?
Well, they're both. Elm is both, right? He describes himself specifically as a researcher. And his title is professor. I think researcher is a category of job that encompasses many different smaller jobs.
Okay.
So there are researchers in all the labs that we see around here who are not professors because they went for the non-tenure track job. Oh, I learned for Confuse Ray! Yes!
Thank God.
That is my favorite Pokemon move. And I'm going to keep saying that forever. So now that I know that, I can switch Vlad out. Teeth, you got this.
Who decides what is a route and what isn't a route?
The government?
The government just like makes these maps, I'm guessing?
Yeah, their government issued maps because they're all standardized. Really? You're that fast?
It's a pretty fast Pokemon.
Cool. Yeah, I suppose it's the government that decrees the routes. It's also like the infrastructure, because these routes are clearly man-made in most cases. Like the mountain pathways, those are clearly carved out in many cases.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And these pathways, they cut down trees and walk along them constantly. They keep the bushes. But the Pokemon don't stray onto the paths because that's where the humans go, and the humans can destroy them. But so when the humans go alone into the grass, they target them.
So you think that because humans have created the paths, that's why Pokemon naturally diverge among these routes?
Quite possibly. And why there's different Pokemon in each route. Like, yeah, it's true. But why are certain routes have higher level Pokemon than others?
I think it's that maybe there's like starter places where some Pokemon are. Maybe some Pokemon are just naturally at a higher level. When we get them, they're level 5 as an egg, or level 1 in some games. But maybe it's the fact that some Pokemon are just naturally stronger. Like a Bagon being like level 20 or whatever the fuck it is just normal. Like that would be my guess. That would be the only thing that would account for how like Baggins would survive in the wild of a place that has average of 20 Pokemon. Maybe they migrate to that area after a while. Breeding and migration patterns. That makes sense.
That's a really good idea. There's also the possibility that the Pokemon, in certain areas, it's just a natural variation between regions, and it only happens to gravitate along the way you happen to go. Like, this is the reason that this is where a lot of trainers start, because it's the region that's known for having slightly softer Pokemon. Oh, I like this.
Do you think that gym leaders are actually using their real Pokemon?
No.
Like Falker, you don't think he's using his level 8 Pidgeotto?
He didn't become a gym leader by having a level 9 Pidgeotto, which is actually cheating.
Yes.
Or maybe, okay, I have an explanation for that, actually. Maybe the reason that it's a Pidgeotto that's registered as level 9 is because he's deliberately not using Pidgeotto's full strength in this fight. Maybe it's just showing how much power he's willing to use against you in this fight. It doesn't mean that that's the innate power of that Pokemon. It might just stop fighting when he decides that you've shown your worth. I think other people have also suggested that gym leaders have different sets of Pokemon based on how strong you are as a trainer. And like they're like, you already have the I see you already defeated Blaine. That means I can use my level 40 Pokemon against you. Or something like that. Sound cool?
How much power do you think a gym leader has? Like, do you think they have like regional power, like in their towns, or do you think they're just?
If it's anything like Pokemon Go, it's a joke. But no, I think they're influential people. But that comes along part and parcel with being a powerful trainer. If it's true that most people in the world are Pokemon trainers when they're children, and they all seem to keep their Pokemon later on. We see them all over, like usually out of their balls, just living with people. What might be happening is that everyone's actually got pretty accomplished Pokemon. But the thing is, it doesn't seem like most people end up beating the Elite Four.
Yeah, it seems like very few.
The gym challenge is kind of just like a thing that's there to motivate people to train the Pokemon, tame them, and use them for the defense of civilization against the onslaught of these genealogical? I don't know. This giant threat. But then the gym leaders are going to be exceptional people who have dedicated their lives to not just training their Pokemon, but to training humans to train Pokemon. And like we see other humans in gyms training alongside those gym leaders. So clearly their job is an educator in many ways, or more like a personal trainer. More like in the sense of an actual gym where you work out, which is why they call them gyms, I think. So getting the badge from the gym leader is really just saying like, I'm going to skip the actual training with you thing because I'm already good enough to beat you. And if someone trains there for long enough, they might also just get the badge as a token of accomplishment. You think?
Yeah, that makes sense.
God, we're getting to write all this shit down. We could write a book about this. Or a really interesting blog post or two.
Why do you think the Elite Four allowed Brock to open a gym knowing that Charmander was incapable of damaging Onix and Geodude?
Oh, that's assuming everyone gets the starters, because it doesn't seem by any means
You don't think
automatic.
everybody does?
No, because you never see anyone else have them.
It's true.
Much later gens.
Do you think you're just special?
I think it's just one, because they wanted to use 3 special Pokemon to start. But I think in the anime he says these are the 3 Pokemon we start people with.
Yeah.
But that gets contradicted in a lot of different things, and we can't always count on the anime to be the canon for the Pokemon
So do you
world.
think you're just the top percentage of trainer that they're just like, this kid's pretty good?
I think we're the main character of an RPG, so we are automatically a Mary Sue. That is the rule of Japanese RPG.
Fair enough.
You have to be a Mary Sue. Or a Gary Stu. Snubbull can flee battle?
Yeah, that's happened before. That happened last episode.
Oh. Well, you're more perceptive than I.
So,
I'm more focused on the conversation than I am on the fight, which is actually dangerous.
means more fun can happen.
No! We do not want to lose the babies.
So, especially when you're in Gen 3 and Gen 7, when you are,
pound me, baby.
When you are moving from different different regions, I'm guessing it's that you're definitely a more wealthy individual and more influential. I mean, your dad in Generation 3 is a gym leader, so maybe that gives you enough influence.
Influence to do what?
To get one of the 3 starters.
Oh, yeah. How do you get the starters in that one? Because I know in this one you get them as a gift after saving the professor. Or he sees the potential in you. Oh, maybe you could be a trainer, huh?
Yeah, in Gen 3, you get it that Professor Birch is being attacked by a Poochyena, and he says, quick, grab one of these Pokeballs out of my bag, and he's like, as thanks for saving me, you can have one of these Pokemon.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, the Poochyena.
Or a Zigzagoon, it's either or, depending on whether you're Emerald or you are...
oh gosh, yeah, they keep running into Poochyenas,
Sapphire.
and I remember back in Sapphire, I was just like, what's Poochyena? You can't affect me, motherfucker. And I can't affect you. I'm gonna try.
How do you think Ghastly uses hypnosis?
It's always in the eyes, usually. I know Drowsy does the drowsy.
Yep.
This weird little hand thing. And Hypno uses the little string. But Drowsy uses the hands. And everyone else uses eyes, it would seem. And some sort of energy wave.
So how do you think it gets their attention to the point where the other Pokemon has to stare at their eyes long enough?
That's why it has a 60% success chance.
That's fair.
Good answer.
That's fair.
I think that's a good answer. Oh, this is dangerous. You should not be in right now. Or maybe. No, this is too risky. I am playing with fire. See, I played Cinders right when I said that. That's a pun, that is. Oh, see, that was a bad idea. You would have woken up and killed me immediately. Oh, actually, I think the quick attack wouldn't have killed me unless it was a crit.
Yep.
So, still not worth it.
Nope.
I'm gonna heal everyone up after this. Yay! XP for 3 people. It feels so demotivational.
At least you've got some to level 18, almost to 19, so...
Yeah, 19 seems like where I should go to get into the gym, because I'll be fighting trainers, too, on the way.
Do you think if a Pokemon stayed in the PC forever, technically it could live forever?
It's not clear how age works, Pokemon. I think they still age, since status effects still affect them. Unless status effects are understood to be affecting their DNA itself. And these items stabilize the DNA. Ooh, I like that idea. That would explain why even certain Pokemon who should not be able to be burned, how can Ghastly be paralyzed? It's immaterial. If it affects the DNA, then that would explain things a lot better. Oh, I'm gonna lick you to death.
But I think that the Pokeballs and the PC work in different ways.
Oh, no. Damn it. Yeah?
Close. Because it seems like in the Pokeball they can get poisoned and you can have damage from walking with poison, but the PC seems to have kind of, whether it heals them before going in there or wherever, but it does seem to have a different effect on the Pokemon. Especially since in a Pokeball, the timer for Pokerus will still happen, but in the PC you can stall that.
Oh, Pokerus, yeah, that's a whole other topic. Because it's bizarre. But yeah. Yeah, I never really... I don't think the people who created Pokemon gave much thought to that, which is why we're having these conversations, you know? It's, hopefully they might see it and have their own ideas. Or maybe they'll flesh it out and contradict everything we say someday. That'd be fine. I would love to have those things officially resolved so people can better understand and explore this fantasy world, but, I don't know.
Yeah. So you can be the champion at the end of the game. Why don't you just become, like, the de facto ruler of the world? Like, why do you still go out and do shit?
You mean, why don't you immediately... We never see how strong the police officers' Pokemon are, you know? They might have level 100 legendaries. Now, if that were the case, Team Rocket and the other teams would not be a threat.
Yeah, I mean, they lost to a bunch of Team Rocket people and left a TM there.
No, it's pretty clear that they tend to use Growlithe, actually.
Oh, that's true.
Or Poochyena, I think, in some cases. Do we see police officers fighting people in this game? Because I think this is the game that has police officers, really.
There's police officers littered throughout the games. The ones that come to mind are
there's a
1, 4, and I believe there's some in 7 as well, but they never are shown to have much power or authority.
It's
kind of average Pokemon. But it seems like you would almost like become the king at the point if you are the strongest trainer.
If you're the strongest trainer. But then there's also the issue of if you actually tried to make a play for power and seize political authority, everyone else could gang up on you. All the rules would be out the window.
All their level 30 Pokemon are going to gang up.
Have you fought horde battles? Do you know how the rules change when everything can combo out at you? You can only... I mean, unless you use Surf to drown everyone's Pokemon at once.
Surf and Earthquake, OP stress.
Which technically, I think it would, at that point, at that scale, it would have to be a limited range. So maybe, yes, you could kill 150 Pokemon in one go. But you'd still have to deal with the other 150 that are dogpiling you at that point.
Or maybe, do you think that the Elite Four is just like, this 10-year-old beat us, but they're not old enough to assume the authority of controlling the world.
Shit.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that was a bad idea. That was a terrible idea. Why did I do that?
This was the worst trade deal in the history of trade deals.
No, I think, like, even in the late... So the Elite Four in the first game are really not that great. They're like level 40, maybe 50 something max.
They got up to level 65.
I think some of them get up to almost 70 in later games. All of them combined could take down most people if you have a full team of level 100s.
That's true.
Yeah. And at that point, like, we've seen, like, evil organizations that try to exert power and take over. They don't succeed because apparently it's exceptional to have rare Pokemon. It's exceptional to have anything that isn't one of the basic Pokemon. Until later on, they do diversify. Because they realize, it is kind of annoying and unrealistic to have everyone be using Pidgeys and Rattatas the entire game. But, like, even Team Rocket, they can't take over the world. Giovanni had to go underground because a kid beat him.
Yes.
But yeah, you're right. If one person can take down a crime lord, what's to stop that one person from taking over the world? What was Red doing in Heart Silver? Why did I do this twice in a row? That could have killed me.
I like the Red is dead theory.
Go on.
So, when Red talks to you, he doesn't talk to you. It just says ...
Oh, and his Pokemon are fighting to defend his corpse.
Yeah, that his soul is there on Mount Silver and that he froze there training.
Oh, that's odd.
Yeah.
That'd explain why he disappears after you beat him.
Yep. Because he went undefeated and trained his Pokemon up to the 80s, which nobody had done to that point. And
which seems a little silly because it only takes a few hours to do.
I wouldn't say a few hours, but that few hours of going through the Elite Four
versus living your whole life.
Yeah.
Apparently, most people don't go out much.
But then again, we know that Gold, Crystal, and Silver happened 3 years after the original games.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 3 years that Red spent in the mountains.
And 3 years, and a lot changed in that region.
Mm-hmm.
Cinnabar Island erupted,
Mm-hmm.
destroyed all evidence, conveniently, of those immoral experiments they were doing.
And then the, Dittos ended up here.
Shit, yeah, they spread.
Mm-hmm.
It's because they bred their way through everything else in the way. Oh, can Ditto reproduce on its own and make more Dittos?
No, I think it needs another Pokemon. I don't think Dittos... Can Dittos reproduce? I don't
think
know.
you can breed Dittos themselves.
Maybe, like if you cut a Ditto in half, it would just be 2 Dittos?
Maybe. Or maybe there's just a finite number of Dittos.
I don't like to think of Dittos as an invasive species.
That'd be kind of cool. I don't know. I like the idea that there's only so many of them, but they're basically immortal because they're Muse DNA.
Mm-hmm.
Or an attempt at Muse DNA. But there's some kind of magical element to that DNA that they weren't able to replicate. It was only by some fluke that they got Mewtwo to work.
Mm-hmm.
And Mewtwo, as we know, is very different from Mew.
Mewtwo gives no fucks.
Mewtwo doesn't even know Transform. That's Mew's signature ability.
That's true.
So clearly they fucked up something. They must have introduced some other thing.
Mm-hmm.
They must have introduced more types of DNA into the system to try to like mix things up to see like what are we missing. And then at this point it was like, oh, this one didn't turn into a Ditto. Huh. Well, what do we do now?
Why do you think that mansion is burned down? Do we think that
Mewtwo destroyed it on his way
destroyed
out.
it?
Just like in the movie. Didn't see the movie?
No.
Oh, you didn't see the movie? Okay, we're going to do that. We're going to do that. Can you believe this? This girl is talking with me about Pokemon theories and hasn't even seen the first movie. Do you know what happens during it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yes, I've heard about it.
Heard about it. Okay,
Yes.
so you still don't know. Okay. All right, we'll have to take care of this. We'll have to take care of this. How do you wake up on the first turn? God damn it.
Yeah, it happens occasionally.
I don't like it.
Why do you think stones like a thunderstorm force Pokemon to evolve? Do you think they make a radioactive change within the Pokemon?
DNA. Radiation affects DNA. That has to be it.
Mm-hmm.
Radioactive stones. They just sell them at the store.
Yep. Do you think that the area...
Oh, yeah, I'd like to buy a lump of plutonium. Sure, kid, here you go.
Do you think the place has become so radioactive that it just doesn't affect people anymore? Because we never see a change in the trainers. Maybe these are the people who evolved to having no, like, problems with radiation. I mean, you carry...
The few survivors after a nuclear holocaust.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, the Pokemon War was ended by a nuclear holocaust that caused many Pokemon types to mutate in different regions.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe it started...
Pokemon Uranium was right!
Because it would make sense, like, you're carrying Dark Stones and Sunstones and Dawn Stones, and you're carrying these around with no problem.
Or maybe it's a special kind of radiation we haven't discovered in our world that only affects certain life forms or types of DNA. So if Pokemon are from another planet originally, what if Dittos were the original Pokemon? And Mew and the other legendaries were probably the originals, and others were possibly attempts by humans to build something that could combat these alien invaders. Sorry, my expression right now is priceless, and I wish you could see it. Maybe someday I'll add video to these, but for now, I have no idea what I'm doing technologically. So that's not happening. Okay, I really like that theory. So if Pokemon are a different kind of life form, they're based on maybe different elements, perhaps. I mean, they resemble a lot of things on Earth, but that might be human attempts to replicate things we know. Versus these legendaries, which are like the archetypal aliens. That would explain why they're also... There's only one of each of the legendaries, and they're... a lot of them have rivalries with each other, Kyogre and Groudon. Ooh, this is good. This is very good.
So in Generation 4, there's Azelf, Mesprit, and Uxie, and they are described as being the 3 Pokemon that control emotions.
Really?
And not only just the emotions of Pokemon, but also the emotions of humans. So, do you think that people were emotionless before then? Or do you think this just, like, amplified everybody's emotions to the point they're like, you looked at me funny, let's battle?
What? I don't know enough because I never played those games. But what my instincts are going to say is that they were not originally like that. They took control of the emotional balance of people afterward. And now when they get out of balance, humans can get out of balance. But before, it was just humans get out of balance on their own due to all kinds of different chemical causes.
Do you think that also makes sense for Palkia controlling space and for Dialga controlling time?
Do they control space and time in limited contexts? Like,
No,
is this planet-wide, galactic-wide, universe-wide?
Universe-wide, as far as we know.
That sounds... as soon as you introduce that into a fantasy world, everything falls apart, to be honest.
Yeah, I believe it's in the movies that Dialga and Palkia walk Giratina back in time in a space whenever they try to escape. They always get teleported back.
Oh my god. That's quite something.
Yeah.
There's a reason I skipped those gens.
Yeah, they're okay. They're not great.
Yeah. I think we're gonna almost be done. I can probably get Cinders up to level 19 off screen. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. Oh, look at those stats. That attack set is going to waste. What are you trying to learn? Stun Spore. Ooh. We want that instead of Sleep Powder. Oh, this is tough. Poison Powder?
I'd say Poison Powder is not going to do much.
Yeah, that's true. Now we have Sleep or Stun, depending on what we need, whether it's temporary or permanent. Cool. Well, we're going to get the others up to snuff, and once we do that, we will be prepared for Whitney, and we will do that next time on Syrasi Plays Pokemon Crystal NuzLocke.